Right then, welcome to a tutorial on how to create a shattering effect in essentially all video game engines. It's going to probably work in most of them. I'm doing this in Unity. So what you're going to learn in this tutorial is how to make a, say, a standard object just sort of be like that, and then it'll shatter. So let's get started on that then, eh? What you're going to want to do is open up Blender. I already have it open, so it's here. And we've got the default cube. But what you're going to want to do first is go on to Preferences and Add-ons, and you want to search Cell. And this extension Cell Fracture will come up. You want to enable that, and then you should be good to go. So first of all, you want to create your model however you want. So I'm just going to do an example with the default cube. So you can export as anything, but I'm going to export it as an OBJ, and I'm just going to call it example. So we've got that, and then from there you're going to want to open the search, and you're going to type cell, and this will come up. So you want to make sure you have the object selected. It works for any object, and you want to open this up. So there is a few options. You want to change noise a tiny bit, so I just put it to a random value and see how I like it, and then from there you can just click OK, and it should split it. After that, you're going to want to click the original object and press delete. Oh, okay, didn't delete, and that'll solve any issues you had with that. So now you've got all the separated objects, and you can cut into that, and you can see it's a cube. So then from Blender you can export, and I'm going to export it as a collider because it exports it with every thing instead of just as one model, which an OBJ will do. So then I'm going to go on here, and I'm going to go I'm going to call it example fracture, and save that. Okay, so then we're going to go into Unity, and we're going to find the file. Okay, from there I'm just going to drag both of them into Unity. So we've got them there, and I'm just going to bring in this example here. I'm going to drag it to a place where you all can see it. So let's go for about there, I'd say. Just move the camera a tiny bit, because I did not expect it to look like that. Okay, I'll bring that up a tiny bit more. So this on its own is fine. What we're going to do in this is we're going to add a component, and we can just call it fracture, and create script. Oh no, oh well. Yeah, so we've got fracture. So we're going to open up that script. And then we're going to, we can completely delete void start. You might not want to, but I have. And then we're going to declare a GameObject public, GameObject fracture. Interesting. Oh yeah, it's already called that. Okay, we'll call it fractured. And then we're going to do, so this is going to detect for a click. And then from that, what we're going to do is we are going to declare a vector free. Oh, not vector free. I'm going to call it old pos, and then it's going to be set to the transform dot position. So that's fine. And then you may also want to make one for the rotation, but I do not. And then we're going to do instantiate. Okay, so that spawns in your object. We're going to do, I don't know what I'm doing here, fractured. I'm going to do old pos. And then I don't want a rotation, but if you do, you can do that. I'm going to do quaternion.identity, which is null. Okay, so that's all we need to do on the script. Just make sure you assign it to the object. So it's assigned here. So now what you want to do is you want to get your example fractured and import it into the scene. And we're going to just unpack prefab. So what we have here is we have an extra camera, which we don't want. We also have a light because the export exports everything. But if you look here, oh well, yeah. But you can see we have each individual cell. So that's fine. And what we're going to want to do is going to shift click every cell. And we're going to add a rigid body. So then that should just straight away be fine. So from here for optimization, if you're not doing like a quick demo, you might want to add something that destroys it after a certain amount of time. But I'm doing this at the moment, so I won't. So now we have all of this set up, and we'll just drag it down to the bottom to create a prefab. So that's fine. And then I'm going to delete that from the scene. We're then going to collect the original thing that's going to shatter, and we are going to go on exactly script, and we're just going to drag in the prefab. So now, in theory, this will just shatter when we click. Oh, but it hasn't, because what we forgot to do is we forgot to destroy the game object. So that'll make sure to destroy it after you get the vector free and instantiate it, because I don't really know what you're going to do without. And then another problem is if we go back onto the prefab, none of these have a mesh collider, and you're going to set the mesh collider to convex. So now we're going to go back out after saving it. I've done that before, and it should work. So we click, and it shatters. Although that will just sort of drop because it's not actually it's not got too many fractures. So let's try it with another object. So we're gonna delete this. I'm gonna go back into Blender, and I'm gonna get a cube, and I'm just gonna flatten it as far as I can. Don't really know what that does. Yeah, but now it's pretty thin. So that's what you'd have for glass. And then we're just gonna enlarge it, and I'm gonna save it as just a standard wave or OBJ, and we'll have glass. I'm going to go glass E because I seem to already have one called glass, but there we go. And then what you're going to do is you're going to select the object, and you're going to cell fracture, and I'm doing it with noise of about 90, and I'm pretty happy with how that comes out, so I'm going to delete the original object, and we've got it as a fracture now. So then we're going to I'm going to delete it in Unity too. So we're going to export it as a DAE. We're going to go back in Blender, and we're going to call it glass E fractured, and export that. Now back in Unity, we're going to get the files, and we are going to drag them in. So we have glass and glassy fractured. So what we can do is I'm going to drag in glass fractured first, and I'm going to unpack the prefab. No, I'm going to unpack the prefab. I'm going to delete the camera. You see, there's no light in this one, which is curious. I'm also going to reset the transform. Oh, I'm going to reset the transform on everything. Oh no, I'm not. That's important. Don't ignore that. What? Whoops. Yeah, you might want to change the rotation now. Also, for some reason, I've done the rotation wrong. There we go. And we're going to go up. So we have that. Okay. So, like we did with the last one, we're going to add the mesh collider and make it convex. And we're going to add the rigid body to make it affected by gravity. Okay. So, that's fine. We're going to drag it in. And that will become the fractured prefab. And then we're just going to get the original thing, and we're going to unpack that, and I'm just going to paste the component values from the last one in so it's the same. From that we're going to add the fracture script, and we're just going to add the prefab. So from there we can be running it, and click, and it will fracture. That fractured quite explosively actually, so I'm going to change the scale to about 0.2 maybe. I'm going to see what that does. So if we just okay then. So we've got it, and we can click, and it's going to fracture. Obviously, if it's in a position like glass, it's going to fracture more like glass. So I'd say that's about it for this tutorial. Thank you for watching. Obviously, you can try this on pretty much anything. I'm currently using this in the game I'm making, and it works on lots of different shapes. So it's very interesting. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.
Lead me into your